This is Brother Mac here, and today I want to talk about the journey. And what happened was Mary went to Galilee with Joseph, and they traveled from Galilee to Bethlehem. And Joseph paid his taxes to Bethlehem, and when they got there, he asked the man and said, "Do you have any room? Because my wife is going to have a baby." And he said, "No, but we have an empty stable. Would you like to stay there for the night?" And he said yes. And so they went to the stable, and he picked Mary up off the donkey and carried her into the stable. And when it came to time for Mary to be pregnant with the Christ child, she gave birth to her firstborn son, laid him in the manger, and wrapped him in swaddling clothes. And then the angels appeared to the shepherds and said, "Do not fear, before I bring you good news and great tidings of great joy for you today. In the city of David is a sign unto you that there is a Savior that has been born, and he is called Christ the Lord. And you will find him wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in the manger."
So how many days are we to Christmas?
10 days.
And what does Christmas mean to you?
Christmas means a lot to me because it makes me think about my testimony when I was little, because I was in the hospital and I was born, and the nurse came in there and she was talking to my mother, and she said, "Your son is going to be born, and he is going to be a dwarf, and his syndrome is going to be dwarf syndrome for special needs children, and we don't know about parts to his birth, but the only thing that we can promise is that he will not be able to walk or talk or anything, just live like a vegetable." And so the doctors came in, and they called the doctors from Vanderbilt, and the doctors from Vanderbilt said, "Your son wouldn't be able to live, and he'd just be able to walk, he won't be able to walk or talk or do anything, so we'll have to put him in the naval unit." And so they kept me in the naval unit for a while, and then when I was there, my grandmother was upset because she thought I was going to die, and so she read the Bible and taught me about Jesus, and she talked to my dad, and because my dad was a Muslim at that time, and she talked to my dad, and she asked my dad, she said, "I know you're a Muslim, but I just want to ask you if it's okay if I can take Matt to church to teach him how to be a Christian and teach him about Jesus and take him to church." And he didn't say anything, and so I was in the hospital, and then 7 days later, I was able to come home, and so my mother and my grandmother, my family, they picked me up from the hospital and brought me home, and they had a party for me, and then I went to bed and laid in my crib, and when I was about 2 or 3, I got out of my crib because there was a stool by my bed, and I got out of my crib and got up and started walking, and my grandmother started sobbing in tears because she didn't know how I started walking. So she hollered for my mother, and she said, "Melanie, come here and look at your son." And so my mom came to the living room, and my mother started sobbing because I started to walk. And so that one Sunday, my grandmother took me to church, and when I was 7 years old, I got saved and accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And then when I was 3, I told my grandmother that I wanted to be a preacher. And now that I'm 21, I'm a preacher, and I'm trying to do my best of telling people about Jesus and how important it could be for them to have Jesus in their life.
Okay. Who has endorsed you and for your program there at Vanderbilt?
Well, the people that endorsed me for my program was Next Step, which is a program at Vanderbilt for special needs children that teaches them how to get a job and live on their own and be independent. And they asked me why I wanted to go to Vanderbilt, and I said because I had friends that went there, and also to get a job and to live on my own and be independent.
Okay, and which administrators at Vanderbilt do you look up to the most?
Well, I look up to my friend Chuck and Caleb Scott and all the people that support me and love me, and I most look up to the people from Next Step that interviewed me to come and take a look at their campus.
Okay, and who are your references for Next Step?
My representatives are Tammy Day, Emily Bauer, and Elizabeth Persons.
Okay, very good. Well, we look forward to hearing from you again in the weeks to come, Mac. Give a couple words to your supporters on how to spend the next 10 days leading up to Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think people should spend the next 10 days?
Well, I think people should live up to 10 days of Christmas to not to work, but to celebrate Christmas with their family and to gather around the table and celebrate Christmas together and talk together and pray together and be there for each other to celebrate the birth of Jesus.
Well, thank you for sharing with us today, Mac, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon.